Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to share with you some fun cards using a distressed foiling technique. If you hear any background noises, I have to apologize. I am sitting in my car doing what so many of us moms do, waiting on kids. So I'm going to take this opportunity to record my voiceover. Now, to start off, I'm going to go ahead and add some color to my background. I am working on an A2 sized white cardstock panel here, and I'm using my Amazon makeup blending brushes to blend on some Catherine Pooler inks. I'm using some shea butter and also blending in some eucalyptus. I wanted some very warm colors. I wanted this to look more fall. And whenever you're blending out your background, think about what color of foil you're going to be using. Use something that's going to coordinate with that. There are so many great colors of foil. You can really just choose any color you want for this technique. So as I'm blending this on, I want to make sure I get a nice dense layer of color here. I really want it to show up and I want it to be nice and vibrant. That's the look I'm going for. Once I have that on, it is time to add some hot foil gel. Now I've used this many times before. I normally put it on with a spatula and I put it on through a stencil. I'm going to foil my stencils this way. However, you can also apply this with a brush. So I am using a chip brush. This is from my paint department in my local hardware store. They're about 50 cents a piece, and I'm coming in from the lid with this. So I'm dipping my paintbrush into just the little bit of product that is in the lid. You can also put a little bit on your craft mat, and then I'm wiping the majority of it off. So basically I'm using what you would call a dry brush technique. Then with that little bit of the gel on the brush, I'm swiping it across my panel. I'm not putting it everywhere. I don't want it everywhere. I just want splotches of it. Now once I have that on, it's not going to take any time to dry at all because it is such a light layer. But now it's time to go ahead and get my foil ready. I am using the amber watercolor foil from Deco Foil. It is so incredibly gorgeous, and I thought it went with the distress theme that I'm going for here with this really well. It's going to give me lots of different colors with just one piece of foil. So what I like to do is take a piece of foil and then use my scissors to just cut it down to size so it has a slight overhang on all sides of my panel. That way I know it's going to fit. I don't have to worry about it moving around or if it has a little bit of pressure moving whenever I put it through my laminator. For my laminator, I'm using the one I always use. I'm using my Royal Sovereign. I have this turned on and warmed up. You can see both buttons are ready to go, and I have it set to 5 mils. Now I'll go ahead and put my sandwich together to go through my laminator. I start off with a piece of computer paper and fold it in half. This is going to be my carrier sheet. You can also use parchment paper. I like computer paper better. Now I'll go ahead and take my panel with my gel side up. Then I'll take my foil and I'll go ahead and put the dull side down. I want the pretty side facing up, and I want the dull side, which is what is going to attach to that gel. I'll go ahead and close up my sandwich, and now it's time to put it through my laminator. Make sure your laminator is preheated, nice and hot, so everything sticks. It's not as important with this because we're going for a distressed look, but in any case, let your laminator heat up. You're going to get better results. Now, I only put this through once, and I put it seam side through, so my little folded part through first. Then I'll go ahead and take out my paper. Once it has cooled down, I'll go ahead and take off the foil, and I've got this gorgeous distressed background. The foil is only going to stick to where the gel is. So because you use that chip brush, you have all these nice brush strokes. You've got some parts where it covers more, some parts where it covers less, and where it doesn't cover it all, you've got your background where you ink blended on peeking through. Now to finish this card off, I did it super duper simple. I wanted to keep that background the main focal point because I think it's such a neat look. I went ahead and just put a vellum little strip across the center of this, and with some Stays On pigment ink, stamped a little thank you. I added a couple feathers that I die cut from Craft. Those are from Concord and Ninth feathered die set. They also have a stamp set that goes with that. And then I attached the whole thing to a card base. Really, really simple to finish this one off. Alright, on to my second card. Instead of doing a whole background, you can also do this technique through a stencil. So I went ahead and attached an A2 size panel to the 12 by 12 wallflower stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. And through that stencil, I'm going to go ahead and put through some Midnight ink. This is a nice rich black ink from Catherine Pooler. I'm using a jumbo ink dauber to do that, so I get really great coverage and really pigmented results. Now, one suggestion I have whenever you're choosing your stencil for this technique, make sure you have large enough openings where your brush can get down to the paper. If it isn't large enough openings, it's not going to work the best. So once I have my background covered with my ink, I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for just a few seconds, and then I took a little bit of the gel out of the tub and put it onto an extra sheet of paper. That way, if I have any transfer of the black ink, it's not going to get into my main tub of gel. Then I'm dipping just the tips of those bristles of my chip brush right into the gel and just flicking it on through the stencil. Again, you don't want to get it everywhere. Make sure you have just a little bit of product on the end of your brush and just put it down randomly. That's the best result you're going to get. Now, once I had that through, I let it dry for just a few seconds. It literally doesn't take long at all because we're putting such a little amount of gel on. Then I'm going to go ahead and make my sandwich. I've got my computer paper, I've got my panel gel facing up, I've got my foil, which is the rainbow foil from Deco Foil, shiny side facing up, dull side facing down, and then I ran it through my laminator just one time, and then I let it cool. Once I peel off that foil, once it's cool, I've got this gorgeous distressed background where the black is going to shine through, but the shiny parts are all rainbow, which I think is such a neat look. I love the way this one turned out. It's one of my favorites. So what I did was kept this one super duper simple, even more simple than the last one. All I did was attach that background to a card base and added a happy birthday flag banner right over the top of that. That sentiment is from a Stamp Market stamp set, the Succulent stamp set, and I love the script on that. It fits perfectly in that banner, so that's what I went with for this card. I did pop that up so it popped away from the white background a little bit, but that's really all there is to that card. Now, aside from the foil, you can also do this technique with the flock, which is newer. It was just released earlier this year. So that's what I'm going to do on this card. I went ahead and ink blended on a rainbow background. I did cut this one down slightly, so it is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inch. I like to go ahead and ink blend on an A2 panel and then cut it down afterwards. That way I get those harsh edges sometimes, and that way it just cuts it all off whenever I trim it down. Now with my brush, I'm going to very lightly dip it in my little bit of gel there, tap off the majority of the excess, and just flick in my brush from the sides. I'm going to do all 4 sides and all 4 corners, and just, again, very, very lightly with a light hand, flick in from each one of those edges to get a nice distressed look. Think of it how you would normally add a little bit of like vintage photo or something around a panel to get that nice little haze. That's what we're going for with the flock today. So the flock transfer sheets are new from Deco Foil, and I am using the black velvet today. I thought rainbow with black, again, I had a theme going on. As you can tell, my last card was rainbow with black now that I think of it too. I must have been on a rainbow kick this day. So anyway, once I get that gel just a few seconds to dry, it's time to attach the flock. So these come in sheets, and you get 4 to a pack. They're rather large. I haven't went through a whole pack yet, and I've been using these quite often. With these, you want to go ahead and put your gel up, facing up, and then attach the flock side to the gel. You're not going to do it the opposite way like you do with your foil. You want the pretty side, the flock side, facing the gel. Then with these are thicker sheets, so I'm going to run them through 2 times through my laminator. I flip it around. I run it once horizontally, once vertically. I feel like it gets better coverage that way, but that's just me and my laminator. But run it through twice and then give it a little bit of time to cool. It will feel like it's sticking, but I promise you it's not. It will release. Just give it a little tug and it'll come right up. And there you've got those gorgeous flocked edges with those brush strokes in it. Now, if you don't like the brush strokes, you could also do the same technique with like a foam brush, and you would get more of a solid distressed look instead of those brush strokes like I'm getting here. But even those tiny brush strokes this flock sticks to with the hot foil gel, it is such a neat look. And again, this is just another way to use this technique with a different product and get a different look. To finish this card, I built up a little chipboard Hello Sentiment and then attached the whole thing to a card base. Super duper simple for this one as well. On to my final card. I know not everybody has all the supplies to foil or wants to buy them. You can also do this technique with another product from the Crafters Workshop. The results are not going to be as dramatic as shiny as you get with the foil, but you can get a similar look. So for this card, I went ahead and ink blended out a background. This is an A2 size panel. And then I placed the Spanish tile stencil over that. With my same chip brush I've been using, I'm going to go ahead and put some modeling paste through that stencil. This comes in all different colors from the Crafters Workshop, but I'll be using the platinum color today. I love, love, love the color of this mixed with the melon ice and the limoncello ink that I use from Catherine Pooler. Now, with my chip brush, I'm going to use the same technique. You do need to go a little bit heavier handed with this, and it is going to take longer to build up the color than it did with the gel and the foil, just because this is a thicker product. But continue to work with it, continue to apply it, and you will get a nice shiny distressed look. Now, I started off with a little bit, and then I added a little bit more, and as you work with this, it becomes more pliable. So it's kind of cold sitting in the jar, but once you start playing with it, add a little bit of friction, a little bit of heat to it, it will start going to paper easier. I went ahead and just kept applying this through my stencil, again with that same chip brush, and just randomly, not whole strokes of it, not with a palette knife. I didn't want this thick, and this dries super quick because it is such a thin layer. Now, once I was happy with the coverage I got, I went ahead and took off this stencil, and I have this really fun background that is distressed and shiny, but I didn't have to use foil. I didn't have to get out my laminator. Another way to get a similar look if you don't have all the supplies. To finish this card off, I added a little shell that I stamped and added perfect pearls to. This is from a Hedgehog Hollow kit stamp set. I added a little I'm here for you sentiment down at the bottom, and I just attached the whole thing to a card base. Again, super simple card. Let the background shine on these cards. Really, that's all you need to do with this technique. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Here's a final look at all 4 cards and different ways you can kind of customize this technique to fit your crafting style. If you have any questions about supplies, I've left them all listed and linked down below. But that is going to do it for me today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Happy crafting, everyone.